Jay.
Okay, so we're recording. I believe we're streaming. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Jay.
So first of all, I would really ask everybody to, if possible, to mute themselves, although we are going, if you're not talking, so that we don't get any interference with this thing. So, but I'll call the meeting to order, and I'd ask everyone to join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and you can unmute that if you want. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow. Okay. So Kathy, would you please do roll call? Kathy Swanson.
Mayor McGowan.
I hear.
Matthew Lund.
Present.
John Glando.
Here.
Rustin Weaver.
Hi, Kathy, I'm present.
Stephen Harper.
Present.
Mickey Holt.
Here.
Beth Williams. Ken Ratliff.
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, everybody's counted and a present. So next we'll have approval for the meeting agenda. Matthew, you want something to add?
Yes, I would like to add a discussion under new business about fireworks, and also would like to just add also about the ordinance I brought up last meeting briefly. So those two items.
So where do we want to put those? Under new business, I guess?
I guess the fireworks would be under new business, and perhaps the ordinance would be under unfinished business. I'm not entirely sure. Wherever is
Why would fireworks be new business? It's been old business for years.
This would be a discussion about a change to our fireworks code.
Well, it wouldn't be new business.
It would be new business, Mickey, because it's a new consideration of the fireworks.
And I would move to approve the agenda as amended.
And I would second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the meeting agenda with under unfinished business, a discussion about the code. What one is that again? Let's make it clear, Matthew.
Sorry about the ordinance that I brought last meeting, which I didn't get a number, but the removal of consideration of removal of CMAC 2.12, I believe.
Okay, and then under new business, a discussion about revising the present fireworks code.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Questions on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. The meeting agenda is approved. Okay, under announcements, appointments, awards, and recognition, the one thing that I want to bring up that it kind of explain a little bit, there's this great letter in the newspaper about the community's concern about the 12 acres. And it was I really did try to get Greg Dorn, who's been doing the negotiating with us on that, to comment and give us an update today, but he's out of town. I was unable to get him to fill you in directly with what's happening there. But I expect that we'll have some comments tonight. I'm looking forward to it. It really does bring up an important point, and I'll let that go. for now. Okay, so now that's all I have for that, and we'll go to consent agenda.
Make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda.
That,
Was that a second? I did not hear.
that was a second from Beth.
Oh, okay. So there's a motion from John Galando to accept the consent agenda. That is seconded by Beth Williams. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor with aye.
Oh, sorry, I have a
Aye.
question on the motion.
Oh, there's a question on the motion.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Stephen, I did not see that.
It's okay. And I had to unmute myself. On here, it says, council member, there was a question for clarification that may not have been answered. If I'll read the part highlighted in black on page 4, it says, Mayor McGowan asked for a vote on the motion. Stephen Harper, Matthew Lund, and Mickey Holt voted aye. Beth Williams, Ken Ratliff, John Glando voted nay. Mayor McGowan cast the deciding vote. The motion did not pass. Councilmember Lund questioned if the vote was to put this on a future agenda or to submit to a committee for more discussion. And so that specific question, I believe, was answered because the motion was for, or was it stated? Motion was made by Stephen Harper to enact the ordinance to repeal, and that was stricken down. And so the question was asked afterwards for clarification, and I just wanted to make sure that it was clarified that my motion was struck down, if
Yeah.
that wasn't clear from the notes. So that'd be the only clarification we would make, is maybe a statement that's not necessarily a retelling, but a clarification.
Okay, so that's an effort to amend the meeting to clarify the meeting minutes.
I mean, it outright says it in the minutes, but because it was brought up as a question and there was more of a roundabout discussion than there was actually an answer, I was just, a statement of clarification tacked
Okay.
onto the notes, I think could make it clear.
Okay, all right. Questions on that motion to approve the consent agenda and to put a clarification on the meeting minutes that reflect Councilman Harper's statements. Question on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
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 Better slow down before I say, it takes a while for all the ayes and nays to come in. Are those opposed? All right. I don't think I hear any. All right, so the consent agenda is passed. Okay, so now we'll go down to officer reports, and the first thing we'll do is hear from our city administrator, Rob Ullman.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Mayor, City Council. I have a short report today. On the building permits for September, I issued 9 permits. And to date, I've issued 69 permits for a total of just over $57,000. And I've also, for September, did 39 inspections. So pretty average, I think, for September. Jeff Shear from the Medic One. There's going to be he contacted me to inform me, and I think there's some flyers going out now about a free drive-through flu shot clinic, which will be October 24th from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Last year, I believe he did about 250 shots, and he was out in 45 minutes. This year, they've got double that, so they're still hoping for a great turnout.
Okay.
But it's a free flu shot. Drive and you just drive through. So that. And then just one other thing. We have opened another CARES grant application process, and perhaps at the end of the meeting, the committee might want to, we did meet, but we've opened it up. The grant, we're going to be accepting the grants through the 15th of this month, which is on Thursday. So for those businesses that hadn't applied before or didn't get what they had wanted or didn't get anything at all. So that is all of the report I have for tonight. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Next, we'll hear from our city planner, Lucy Temple. You there, Lucy?
Hello. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me, Mayor?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. I'm gonna update you just on a couple of things you already know about, but just where we are in those processes. For our large projects, City Heights commenting is now closed as of last week, and we collected about 60 comments written, delivered to City Hall, or mailed or emailed, and we are compiling those, and I'm awaiting kind of further instructions from Greg Dorn, who I'm sure will be putting out some type of update soon on that process. The 47 Degrees North project, that is still during its comment period for the draft supplemental EIS through November 2nd. And there is now a phone line that people can call in and leave up to 3-minute voicemail message, which will be transcribed by the consultant and included in the comments for the draft EIS. All those comments are being directed to Kathy, so I urge any council members who receive any written comments to forward those promptly to Kathy. The other thing that we talked about at a previous meeting was the land exchange of some open space land along the Coal Mines Trail, and in exchange for vacation of city right-of-way. The ordinance for the vacation was done, and we are still processing the land exchange. Right now, we're proceeding with the final agreement between the landowners and the city. We're going to process the boundary line adjustment, and then the final action will be the statutory warranty deed. So we're just about to submit that boundary line adjustment and get the agreement signed within this week. I told you all about a grant from Ecology, $11,200 to recap some of the costs for the Shoreline Master Program update. It turns out as soon as I submitted it, it was approved, and we're good to go on that. So we'll have that back in our budget. And then I did want to let everybody know about the bid openings that are this Thursday. One, because people have asked since they've been in the paper, one is for the Quadco planning grant for extending Railroad Street eastward, and we had to go out for bid for an engineer even though we already have one. It was just a formality for Quadco. And then the holiday lighting project that we had the lodging tax grant for, both of those are going to open on Thursday the 15th. And then the planning commission update is that we will be meeting our deadline of the end of October for the short-term rental code as far as completing the code, but then the adoption would be scheduled for November. So we'll keep you up to date on that. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Lucy. Next, we'll hear from our Public Works Director, Mike Engelhardt.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, council members. Just a quick heads up, Hanson Ponds project, it is ongoing. The crew got everything cleared and grubbed and ready for the installation of the restroom facility out there. Finally heard back from them today. They're planning on the 19th and 20th to get over there and excavate down and get the new bathroom facility installed. Due to how late it is in the season, we kind of all agreed that that bathroom will remain closed until next season, just because by the time we open it up, it's going to be time to close it down and winterize it. So we'll go ahead and leave it closed for this year. And then next spring, we will open that up. As far as my crew goes, winter prep is still ongoing. Today, you might have seen a core drill company going around. We've had with phase 2 of the downtown project with the placement of the curbs and storm drain system to accommodate for the completed project of phase 3. It allowed for a little bit of drainage concerns and issue and puddling in pedestrian pathways. So we decided to go ahead and core drill out some areas, vac down, put in some French drains and a little drainage to eliminate that. That will be happening as the week progresses. Today they core drilled out the areas, and we'll continue on with the vac truck tomorrow, getting those installed. We also core drilled out and will be excavating and pouring concrete and bolt kits to install a rapid flashing beacon at the PO intersection. That will be at the bakery and Owens side of that intersection. So that'll hopefully help bring more attention to the bystanders, to the traveling public that seem to zing through there. Been working with HLA. We've got a Department of Health funding for a water main replacement that we've applied for. They're pretty optimistic that that's going to come through as an option. We've also applied for a FEMA hazard mitigation assistance grant. We've applied for 4 different locations on that. There was a pre-application process. We did submit for all 4 locations through that pre-application process, and we were graciously granted an acceptance on all 4 areas. So now we're into the full-blown application process, which is ongoing as we speak. And we're hoping to hear mid-November to the beginning of December on an award for those 4 locations. So fingers crossed on that. That's all I got for now. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mike. And next, we'll hear from our police chief, Kirk Bland.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Council. Just a few things of interest. We've been going through some different training and trying to get our hours in by the end of the year. As you know, we're required to have at least 24 hours per officer every single year of additional training on police topics. With COVID, that really put a hamper on us because all training was canceled. We were able to work around that by doing and signing up for a online course through policeone.com. So our guys are taking additional training that way to get their time in. We were able to take our sergeant and our corporal to first level supervision school. Had to send them to Idaho to do it, but they got it done. So that is out of the way. They had an additional 40-hour class that ended up being online as well. So their first level supervision certificates are well in the works there. As far as crime lately, Roslyn seems to be a point of interest. I don't know if you guys heard, but I'm sure through social media, whatnot, you saw that Roslyn has been experiencing some graffiti, mainly on their public restrooms. Some good work by Officer Burson. He was able to track down enough leads to develop 2 viable suspects for that, and charges have been filed for the graffiti. In addition to that, the Roslyn Grocery, they had an attempted break-in. That case is still in play. We do have some video footage that's given us some good leads. So suspects were developed. However, no arrests have been made at this time because it's an ongoing investigation. Other than that, that's about all for the major crimes. We are also looking at the CARES grant as well. I guess I need to talk to Rob more about that. I know I'm aware of other agencies have been able to look at the CARES grant to supplement their camera and body camera needs, and how they related them to COVID. So I'm going to work with that and hopefully get some funding for potential body camera purchase for next year. Other than that, I finally looked at a real rough draft. Lucy talked about the 47 North. Comments were open till November 2nd. I found some big discrepancies in what was listed versus what I provided. So I'll be putting together a comment sheet to send up before that. And that's all I have on my notes. If there's any questions.
Nope, doesn't appear to be any questions. Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll hear from our fire chief, Ed Mills.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. The month of September, we had 54 calls. 39 of those were medical EMS. We had 2 false alarms, 2 power line calls. We had 3 fire calls. One was a brush fire. We had a vehicle fire and 1 mutual aid fire with District 7, which they just asked us to be on standby. We also had a 1 call for a burn complaint. This ended up being a legal contained fire in the city limits. With that being said, the burn ban was lifted, was reported by Rob last council. Just to remind everybody, burning isn't allowed in city limits other than a small 3 by 2 foot high legally dry firewood ornamental fire in a contained pit. So no vegetation, no other burning of any kind, but it is legal to have a small ornamental or campfire in a contained pit. So with that said, that's about all I have to report, unless you have any questions.
No, I don't hear any questions. Thank you for that, Ed. And now we'll hear our treatment plant operator for Veolia, William LaRue. William, are you there?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. In your packet, you should see my usual graphs that I provide for you. Nothing really out of the ordinary. We pumped 10 million gallons more in September of 20 than we did in 2019. Consequently, our run times are up a little bit. One thing to note there on the wastewater flows and the river level, if you track that river level, you'll see our flows going up at the same time, and as soon as the river elevation drops, so do our flows. So that says a lot about our groundwater intrusion. In September, as part of our NPDES permit and requirement from the Department of Ecology, we reviewed the operations and maintenance manual and submitted a letter to the Department of Ecology indicating that that has been done. So that completes the requirement of the permit. We collected fuel samples from the generators and had those sent in for analysis. They all came back good, no issues there. Flynn Roofing was out at the treatment plant last week to repair a couple of leaks that we had in the roof. And we'll be able to determine here how well they did in the next day or two, as we're looking at 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of rain coming here in the next 24 hours. Staff completed generator oil changes on all 3 of the generators, and we are currently working on winter prep, which consists of blowing out the irrigation system up at the water treatment plant, switching from the water wash to air wash at our intake station on the fish screens, draining and purging the outside water lines down at the wastewater plant. And also we have flushed the well field and gotten prepared for that in case we need to switch to it in an emergency situation. Tomorrow morning, we will be pulling and inspecting the fish screens, which is our annual maintenance on that one. That's pretty much all we've got going at this point in time. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you folks may have.
Well, that sounds like that's it for you, Willie. Doesn't seem to be any questions. Appreciate all the diligent work there. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, so now we're down to citizen comments of non-agenda items. And so I'm sure that I can tell right now that we do have people that wish to address the council. And what I'd like to do in a way is have some method of having you people talk one at a time. And we have not done this much before. So what I'll do is I'll call on people who are on this call that aren't on the council staff or council, and have you address the city with your comments. We usually try to keep it down to 5 minutes or less. There's a lot of them. And so what I would like to do is I'll start off with Jerry Hine. You're on top of the list. Can you unmute yourself, Jerry, or do you care to address the council? There he is. No?
Yeah, Jay, I'm just going to be listening to this, and I will not be an active participant this week.
Okay, well, thank you. And I have to kind of go through this so I can find out one at a time who wishes to address the council. Katrina Merkel, you have a comment for us?
Yes, I do. Thank you for calling on me. My name is Katya Merkel, and I live at 2141 White Road. And I would like to add my voice to others in urging the Elum City Council to take immediate action on the Promise Community Center. My family has lived here for 18 years, and in that time, my children have all grown up without what was apparently promised and planned for 18 years ago. Is it fair that another generation of kids go without a community center while decision makers wait for some optimal moment in time to make this happen? With 12 acres and $5.8 million, please make that optimal moment now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katrina. Katya. It's hard for me to read your name on the computer, okay? But I do know you, and I should major your name properly. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm looking down the list here. How about Winston Norrish? You have a comment you wish to make?
I'll do this on the phone. Can you hear me now?
Oh yes, we can hear you now.
Thank you. My name is Winston Norrish. I have been a resident of Cle Elum with my family for 15 years. We live at 360 Ridgeview Drive. I'm also going to comment on the obligation for Suncadia to provide to the city of Cle Elum 12 acres from the Bullfrog Flats area and $5.8 million equivalent of amenities. My understanding is that this, as Katya had mentioned earlier, this obligation is 18 years old now. And we are at a point where that Bullfrog Flats area is likely to be sold, or I guess it's potentially going to be sold, and Suncadia might be sold at some point. Both of those potential transactions could really confuse this issue. As it stands now, my understanding is that there is a legal obligation for Suncadia to provide that acreage and that $5.8 million of amenities. That legal obligation has been out there waiting for Cle Elum to take it, collecting dust for 18 years, and it's time to get it done before it gets more complicated. I sort of, as a personal note to the council and whoever else will be involved in actually making it happen, I think it's a tremendous and sort of rare opportunity for the council to do something really substantial, and not to take away from what you do for the city. I really appreciate that, and everybody does. But this is a big deal. $5.8 million is a lot on 12 acres, and getting a community center rolling would be a tremendous thing for our community. And, you know, as unfair as it may be, since it's been sitting sort of unattended to for 18 years and not a lot of people know about it, now a lot of people know about it. And you guys have the opportunity to be the ones to make it happen. Hopefully not the ones to fail to make it happen. So I look forward to celebrating the success of this in the very near future. And I wish you all very good luck.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Winston. That was well put. So Claire Nichols, do you wish to address the council?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Claire Nichols, 3493 Airport Road, Elum. So my comments are regarding the 2002 development agreement between the City of Elum and Suncadia, specifically the conditions of approval section, parks and trails subhead. The agreement specifically outlines 12 acres of land for a community center, as well as funds for recreational facilities. We understand that Suncadia wants to transfer the responsibility for the land and amenities to the buyer of Frog Flats. We also understand the city has told Suncadia that community center obligations must be resolved prior to the city sign-off on the sale of Bullfrog Flats. The citizens of this area have waited 18 years for the community center obligations specified in the 2002 development agreement, and the sale of Bullfrog Flats may never happen. We implore the city to act immediately and to demand in good legal form that Suncadia perform under the 2002 development agreement, specifically with regard to the 12 acres and funds outlined in the agreement no later than December 31st, 2020. To be clear, the folks involved in raising this issue do not consider it to be a anti-Suncadia stance. We like Suncadia and we like their residents. This is a contractual obligation made by the financial backers of the resort, which is now Oak Tree Capital Management. The time has come for them to make good on this obligation and give the citizens of the Upper Kittitas County a valid path toward a community center. Thank you.
Thank you. That was well put, actually. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any others that wish to address this. I don't see any. Would anyone please speak up if I am not recognize you? I don't see any others on the call. No, and AC will get to you pretty soon. He's
okay.
Next. So what I'll make a little bit of comment. We will be able to give you a more detailed report back to everybody who's listening about this issue. And I really do appreciate actually the support that we're getting from the community. And you'll be hearing from us. And it better be before December 31st. Okay. With that, I'm going to move on to public appearances. And we have on the phone here AC Stewart. He's the Hope Source Outreach Specialist, and he wants to explain a little bit about the help he and Hope Source are going to do for the homeless population or encampments in this town. AC, do you want to go ahead and address the council?
Yes, thank you, guys. I was homeless for a few years, and this spring I did a cleanup. It's called Team Up to Clean Up, and we go around to old homeless camps and clean them up, and Waste Management is willing to waive the fee on the money. It's a good way for us a lot of people to give back to the community and make it look beautiful like God wants us to. I was going to do it November 7th up here. Like I said earlier, Waste Management's going to waive the fee, and I'm going to put flyers out for volunteers. I was planning on doing it, meeting at Hope Source like 10 o'clock in the morning, and go down to by the river and pick up one of the homeless camps there, pick up their garbage. The pond behind Shoemaker's, and a few other places that me and the mayor would be talking about. So a good way to make the community back together. And I was going to have a lady up here make some chili to warm people up. That's basically all I got to say. Is there anybody that has questions?
Well, AC, I'd like to thank you. Stephen does have a question, it looks like. Stephen, go ahead.
I certainly applaud your efforts to reach out. Is there any availability with Hope Source to reach out as far as, I guess during these cleanups, do you typically encounter people still at the camps, or these cleanups after camps have been disbanded?
It's when they're there and after. On my outreach, I was homeless for many years, and if it wasn't for my community and Hope Source, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. We do have a group of people on Monday and Fridays. We come up to Upper County and Lower County, and it's called Neighbor to Neighbor, and we hand out food, laundry vouchers, and shower vouchers. And then every other Tuesday and Thursday, I am up here doing outreach, trying to find homeless people and trying to get them into the office and start the process of getting them off the street.
Okay, so that's what I was concerned, that there is a effort to try to not just enable somebody. Certainly we want to, our heart goes out to these people and we want to help them in the temporary, but in the long term, it sounds like there's a good outreach to try to help them transition out of that. And that was my only concern.
Yeah,
is that there is
yeah,
also that.
Sorry, I do 20 hours a week out here on outreach. So, and then I got a couple other guys that on my team that do stuff too.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where were you planning to meet on the 7th in town, or where?
I was thinking that right here in front of Hope Source for now, and then I'll know more as I sit down with the mayor and talk to him and go look at some of these other camps.
Okay.
Hi, AC. Thank you for what you're doing. It's really commendable. A concern I would have for any volunteers would be their safety. I've been involved with several cleanups in the past in King County, and maybe 10 of them. 2 of them, people got violent, said, "Get out of my camp, don't take my stuff, this is mine." You're working with this group, I'm assuming you know them, or you know that they won't react violently towards a citizen that's trying to help clean up, and vice versa, to make sure that the citizens don't go there with their own personal agenda to verbally accost somebody at a homeless camp. I mean, I'm sure you have somebody there that is sort of manning the excitability of the groups.
Yeah, I deal with a lot of the homeless people, Upper County and Lower County. I know them all personally, and they love me and respect me very much.
Okay.
So I don't see no problem like that.
Okay.
And I've already told all the camps Upper and Lower County, because I'm going to do it in Lower County the 31st of this month. So I've already asked them, and a lot of them might volunteer and help. A lot of our homeless people, with us trying to help them off the street, they're trying to give back to the community, and they're just trying to give back where they can. I know of 3 homeless people up here that's already willing to, they want to do this.
Cool.
Help us out. So.
Okay, and then do you reach out to local people? Like, do you have the safety protocols and gloves and boots and that type of thing? Somebody shows up in their Birkenstocks ready to pick up, or clean up.
Yeah. If there's any, I took the health department, and they showed me a class on in case there's needles or
Perfect.
something. I know how to clean it up. I do have the boxes for needles, and there'll be some masks I'll give out and all that other stuff.
Okay, great. Thank you for what you're doing. I think it's great. I hope we get some good volunteers to help out.
Thank you. And I will have flyers out. Our lady that does our advertisement, she's going to have some flyers ready for me by the end of the week. And I will have them sent to the mayor and the office. And then Hope Source down here, up here, they're going to help me hand it out and stuff. So I'll get flyers all over.
Okay. That's a good conversation. Any other questions for AC and his effort?
I don't have a question, but I would also say I appreciate that this outreach. I guess my only concern, I guess, for the council and the mayor is just making sure we don't have any liability issues. Volunteers on city property, if there's any kind of issue or somebody steps on something or anything like that. I don't know if we like temporarily get them on our L&I insurance, or if there's something that we can do to make sure we protect the volunteers so that we're not opening ourselves up to any kind of issues.
Yeah, when I did this in the beginning of this year in April, we had no problems at all. And I did behind Weimar and the Knights Inn and the coffee place down on the Canyon Road.
Yep, totally understand. Just concerned if it's on city property, we have direct liability there. That was my only.
Yeah, I understand.
Yep,
I understand.
We'll make sure it's safe, Matthew. Any other questions for AC?
If there ain't no more, sorry, Mayor.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say, go ahead.
If there ain't no more questions, I just want to say thank you guys. And it's going to be awesome working with you guys on homeless and other stuff. This community is so awesome up here, but thank you very much.
And thank you for your good work.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, AC. All right, we're gonna move on. And now we're going down to business requiring a public hearing, and Rob is gonna walk us through this. And this resolution has to do with the increase in the building permits, or building permit fees for inspection. Rob, do you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, I sure do, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Yes, this is Resolution 2020-021, adopting the new building permit fees. This is a publicly noticed public hearing. That's by our code. Requires this public meeting because we are increasing fees. What I generally do with permit fees is look at them every time there's a new code going to be adopted. I look at the fees then. So sometimes it's 3 years apart, sometimes it's 2 years apart. This year, because of COVID, they've kept extending. So we were supposed to have the new codes start in July, and then they extended it to November, and now they're extending it again till February. I can change fees at any time, so I just wanted to kind of not get too far behind, and decided to look into what kind of fees increase needs to be for 2020 here. I've got this staff report here. I mean, you guys can read through that, but essentially, I looked at what it costs to run the building department per hour, and it's about $100 an hour. And actually, it probably could increase, but it's about $100 an hour. It doesn't include just the salary of the plan review inspector, but there's folks at City Hall that help out the building department. There's also vehicle expense, office equipment expense. So that's what I did. I basically went through, and you could see that in Exhibit A, the first Exhibit A, where I crossed out so everyone could see what I figured this was just the easiest. I know it's handwritten, but from the July 1st, 2018, and I'm proposing these new fees start November 1st. We can go through and later on if you have questions. But that's the first part of the packet. And then the second part of the packet for the fees is the resolution and the actual clean copy of the building permit fees. So I think we could just open up the public hearing now, Mayor, and then I could answer questions as it goes along here.
Yes, that's exactly what we'll do. Rob basically explained what the objective of this public hearing for proposed amendments to building permit fees. And we'll open the public hearing, and we'll invite comments from the public. And I'm looking at it, and Jerry, you don't have to answer. It looks like you're the only one on this call now. But if there is anyone on the call that wishes to address the council concerning this, and now's your opportunity. So hearing no comments, I'll close the public meeting and open it up to the council for discussion. There you go. Stephen Harper wishes to address the council.
All right. I think it's just a simple thing on page number 2, where it says pull buildings, and it gives you $30. It says $30, and I believe there's a Scribner's error on the handwritten and the finalized one where it says maximum on-site enclosed. Should that be maximum one side enclosed?
Yes, you're right. That's only been there for 2 years, and I haven't seen that.
It's easy to, I think it's an easy one, but I think as per our conversation, I had a conversation with Rob concerning these increases, and I think they're fair and they're in keeping with other cities, and I stand in substantial support of it.
I just had a question. I mean, some of these fees are.
Hang on, Matthew, could you hold on a minute? Rob, somehow I'm looking at a Scottish ruins of a castle right now. Do you have any idea why that is?
No.
I know it's building fees and that sort of stuff, but.
Can you wiggle your mouse or click on your mouse?
Oh, it says Jay wants my password.
Yeah, you know your password. Don't say it, but
Okay.
it's a laptop password, remember?
Yes. So, council, would you please bear with me while I try to reconnect here?
Huh. I don't think this has ever happened before.
I mean, I did, there you go, I'm back. I did enjoy the picture. It was quite interesting for building to see the ruins of a Scottish stone castle. And I thought maybe you did that on purpose, Matthew, you had a comment. I'm jabbing on.
I did not have a conversation with Rob, but I guess I'm curious. I mean, some of these fees are tripling of the old fees, and in 2 years, I'm just curious, were we just really undervaluing our time in 2018, and that's why we're tripling some of these fees? Or it just seems like a lot in a 2-year span to need to increase that much.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which ones exactly, but there had been a few, like for instance, this didn't triple, it doubles, like modular buildings and manufactured homes. It's not, this is a 60 cents per fee I'm suggesting. I hadn't looked at those since, actually since I've been here. It's just one of those things where there's not a lot of manufactured homes. I guess I didn't really look at that, but this year I wanted to look at everything, including, if you see on page 3, the mechanical permit fees. Those were actually quite bad because, I mean, if it's with the entire house, yeah, that's great. But if you just have a mechanical permit, then it was, we were losing money on that one for sure. And I did want to point out, sorry, this, and then we can get back to you, Matthew. I did want to point out we're adding a short-term rental fee for $300. This is going to be a checklist that I go through. I go there, I go through the checklist, I make what needs to be done. They do it, and then I come back. And so that's a new one, just FYI for that. So Matthew, did I answer mostly your question?
Yeah, I mean, like I specifically, I saw the building permit fee for a wood stove, fireplace, or freestanding stove went from $30 to $150, and that just seems like a tremendous jump.
Yeah.
And then also some of the deposits tripled, and I don't know if there was a reason for that. I'm not necessarily in opposition, just curious.
No, that's excellent questions. I'm glad, you know, sometimes I skip right over these because I know these things very easily. Page 1, yeah, the deposits have increased considerably. However, you know, let's say for new residents, a $600, it's supposed to kind of cover the plan review fee. These are the deposit though comes off of the balance, so I could say it's going to be, you know, $6,000, and if the permit is $6,001, then they only owe me $1. So that, but that was the idea on the deposits, is try to at least get up front the plan review fee in case they, you know, decide not to do the project, and they're still responsible for at least the plan review fee. Yes, but the wood stove one is a very good question. So these are another ones that are, you know, if it's part of the if it's part of a full house, it does seem to kind of come out okay. But when somebody just puts in a wood stove and I charge them $30, it doesn't really. It wasn't clear that I shouldn't charge another inspection fee on top of that, because I have to go out sometimes twice, at least twice, but maybe 3 times. So that's why I also added right above there where it says miscellaneous building permit fees, and then in parentheses I put includes inspection fees. So now it's just I know that it's $150, and you know, plus the, you know, the you know, like the issuance fee and whatnot. But that's why that one increased so much. It's not because that it really it just didn't make sense to charge somebody $30 when I had to go out there two to 3 times. It didn't.
Can I speak quickly to that?
Out. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I can speak quickly to it, just in layman's terms, you're not just looking at a fireplace. You're guaranteeing that sheetrock is put in all the way up to the roof, and so you have it's not it's not just a simple straightforward, oh yeah, looks like it's within code. You got to make sure that everything was done all the way up to the top. And say in the event that Rob were to inspect it and sign off and it weren't done to specs, you know, you don't have the several layers of drywall or whatever, you know, insulation, then the city's liable. So he does have to put a little bit more work into those.
So Rob, Rob, why don't you, just for the council and everybody's edification really, explain what's involved with, you know, I know there's a lot of different kinds of building, but if somebody comes in with plans for a building, what do you have to do and what do you have to decide for the cost of their permit? Just, you know, just give us a rundown of the steps you have to go through to do that.
And actually, I did kind of a mock-up, like a house permit here. Actually, yeah, I just sat down and did that while I was listening. But so let's say a house comes in and it's 2,500 square feet. what I have to do, and this is talking about building permit fees, not the whole plan review and whatnot, is I have to put a value on that. And if you go to the last page, page 4 of 4, there's a square foot construction cost, building valuation data table. Now this data table is coming out of, and it's completely changed based on, there's a publication that the International Code Council publishes, and they come out twice a year with, and this, the newest one is August 2020. And so I have to figure out the occupancy group. So a house is an R3, you go all the way down to R3. Generally, it's built out of wood, so its type of construction is a 5N or VB, type 5B, and that's $107 on the old rates. And this is a valuation. The new valuation that I'm proposing based on this table is $123 a square foot. So, so if you did it the old way, it comes up to be, let's say, $267,000 valuation. From that, you go to page 1 of 4. It says permit fee table. Now this permit fee table is remaining the same, and it has remained the same for quite some time. And I have done my research, and most everybody is still using this, the same table. The IBC used to actually publish this way back in like 94 through 97, but then they stopped doing it, and it kind of stayed the same. So what they do is to increase fees is to actually increase the building cost, which kind of makes sense. So from that, from the permit, that 267,000, you go in this table, and I have it in a Excel program, right? So you go to, it's between 100,000 and 500,000, and then you do the math if you read that, and the permit fee ends up being, well, I didn't break it out. So there's a permit fee plus 65%, which is up, is the plan review fee, which is on page 2, and that's the same, 65%.
65% of what? The fee.
65% of the permit fee. So
Okay.
I should have
That's the plan. All right, that's the plan fee review. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So here we go. So if I went with the 267,000, yeah. So the permit fee is almost 8,000, and the plan review fee is about 1,200. With the issuance fee, the permit comes out to be approximately 3,220. And if I did that with the new fees, it came up with a building valuation of $309,000, right? And so with the permit fee, plan review fee, and the issuance fee, 3,627. So it's only increased $408. And that's how you, it seems kind of complicated. After you do a couple of them, though, it's pretty easy, but that's just the system.
Okay, no, that helps. I think it's hard for a lot of people to imagine what you go through. When I'm in the office, oftentimes you see all these stacks of plans of buildings and stuff, and so I'm a little bit more used to you shuffling paper around, but most of the council are not aware of that. Are there, well, I don't know, Rob, is there anything else you wanted to add to that, or is there any other questions?
I don't think I have anything to add. It is complicated, and I do spend a lot of time on the phone, which is kind of has to be involved in these fees that they may never come to fruition. They may not come to but I spend a lot of time, explaining this, and so I am on the phone. That doesn't technically get reimbursed, but then I get a permit fee, which ends up kind of covering it. So, yeah, that's all I have to add.
Okay, are there any other questions from Rob on this Oh, on this resolution to update the building fee permit schedule.
Am I correct in what you're saying, Rob, that you have to you review the building permit fees once a year, and that's in July?
No, actually, I review the permit fees every time a new code, typically every time a new code comes, which is I guess typically three years. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3. So every 2 to 3 years, Mickey.
Okay. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the value of homes going up and down. It's just strictly on the building end of it.
Right. I don't know how close it is to market value. You know, that's one reason why I try to keep it updated every 2 to 3 years, and it does increase. So I don't know what they build a house for, but the new fees say that you can build a house for $123 a square foot. Probably low, depending on the house, but that must be the country's average. I think how they figure that out.
Okay. Any more questions? I thought it was pretty enlightening myself. And if not, is there a motion to adopt the updates for the building permit fee schedule?
Motion that we authorize.
Go ahead.
Motion that we authorize the mayor to sign resolution 2020-021 adopting the November 1st, 2020 building permit fees. With the Scribner's error corrected.
Okay. All right, it's moved by Stephen and second by Mickey to authorize the mayor to sign resolution 2020-021. And this is a resolution that's adopting updates to the building permit fee schedule. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor with aye.
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 Those opposed? Hearing none opposed, the resolution is passed. Thank you. Now we'll move on to, let's see now. Here we have unfinished business, and the first one, and really, I had a bunch of notes on this. The first one is for me to update the emergency declaration resolution by me. And what I did is I asked our attorney, I asked some neighboring cities. Oh, and look at this. Some of my notes here. I left them on my other desk, but they appeared all of a sudden. And part of it is has to do with the, I guess the question was, you know, how long should we keep this emergency declaration in effect? And our attorneys said, first of all, there isn't any other cities that they know of that are getting out of it. My comment is that we still are in the midst of this unusual time. Even the attorneys from Ellensburg, you know, suggest that we hang on to it. They were able to use it for an emergency ordinance that it's a handy tool, they say, for the city that you have. You know, they recommend that the public health is still at risk. And this emergency resolution is not really just because of the health department. And that was one of the concerns, since that seems to be under control. And the fact that the state still has under emergency declaration, it's my feeling, my recommendation is that we hang on to this emergency declaration until we see something different. But I'll open it up to the council to see what their comments and concerns are about this. John Galando's with his hand.
I guess the only question I have on this, does this have a date? Did we put a date on it that's going to last until such and such a date? We don't have to do anything special to keep it going.
No, we don't have to. There is no date. It is definitely open-ended at this point. And really, we're going into, well, I've already said what I have to say. I think really we don't know how this is going to affect us. And that the recommendation I got was that this is a handy tool for the city. Ellensburg was able to enact some ordinances really quite quickly because of it. Not that we are going to be able to do that or not, but in general, and our attorney says, leave it where it stands. But go ahead, counsel. Stephen, are you, there you go.
Yeah. So number one, the whereas that was one of the main impetuses for this. And one of the reasons that we declared, why we declared this, is because we were worried that our hospital system would not be able to respond to this. We've seen so far, and for quite an extended amount of time, that it has been able to respond to that. And so again, by very definition, a declaration of a state of emergency is that we are in a continued state where we, we understand that there's always risk of life. If you step out of your front door, you risk being hit by a car, you risk contracting a fatal disease. We all do. But when there's a high probability of that, and when we as a society don't believe that there's an ability for individuals or the society at large operating normally to be able to respond to that correctly or proportionately, then we declare a state of emergency. And so I believe that we still need to keep it on the table, either a rewording of the declaration, or we need to have I think we need to make an expiry where we decide it expires, and unless we, put it on the table for reconsideration, I just don't think we can, I don't think it's wise. Several different times you said it's easy, and I don't believe that your intent was this, but I would summarize that from another point of view, and that's our constituents, that it's easy for cities to be able to quickly take away liberties based on the fact that there is an emergency situation. We haven't seen it done in the city of Cle Elum, but we've seen it done in many other major cities. And as the guardians of the freedoms of our citizenry, it is important that we don't have an instrument in place that allows a tyrannical ruler to very quickly impede on this, unjustly impede on the liberties of our citizens. And I think that's the danger that we're in right now. It's more of a danger than I have of contracting COVID.
No.
Well, I disagree, and I don't mean to on there. And I am what I'm going to say is I got a granddaughter that's in the hospital business and a daughter my son's wife is a doctor. Now, I think on her doctor end of it, working at the clinic, it really has calmed down quite a bit. But the granddaughter working at a major hospital in the Bellevue area over there, it hasn't calmed down. And to give an example without going into there is this Saturday she finished working 9 days straight. That's because it really is a true epidemic and it is going on over there. Granted, it isn't as strong as it was in a sector like there, but it is a major thing that's going on, and it's a battle for the people that are in there. So I think for us to back off on our restrictions, we just aren't quite at that point yet. I agree with Stephen on what he said. It's easy to pass things to take rights away from everyone there, and we need to right at the time. But I don't really myself truthfully believe this is the time to do it. That's just my thoughts.
Any other comments from the, oh, hang on, Stephen, let's others try to chime in here a little bit. Huh? Ken or anybody else have any thoughts on this? Yay or
No, this is Ken. I was just gonna say that I keep getting something on my screen saying I have an unstable internet connection, so I apologize if you can't hear me. But I am reluctant to have an emergency go on forever, or an emergency declaration. I share Stephen's apprehension. I hear what Mickey said, and I do have a lot of confidence in our mayor to manage a declaration like this wisely, though, so I'm okay to continue.
Matthew, you'd like to hang on? Beth, you and Matthew both raise your hand at the same time. Is it okay if I do Matthew first?
Sure, that's fine.
Thanks, Beth. And that's a lot of what Stephen said is why I brought this up. I just want to make sure that we don't persist in an emergency for a long period of time without any kind of review. I think it seems appropriate to set some sort of renewal date to allow us to have a conversation and decide whether, which is I guess what we're doing now without actually taking action, but just have a conversation and say, is this still appropriate? Mr. Mayor, I'd be interested in more detail on what you were given by the other folks about what tools are in that toolbox that it gives us. That sounds great, but I guess I'm curious. I don't need it right now, but if you could give me what that is, it'd be interesting just because the declaration and the resolution that we passed don't really detail those out. I'm just curious what tools that we're using or might be using are in that make it appropriate to keep it going. I guess my thought always is we can always rescind it and always declare it again. It's not hard to declare it again if we needed to, if we felt like it. So I just want to make sure we don't operate in perpetuity under an emergency when it's not necessarily needed.
Okay, okay. Well, I don't know. I imagine we could come up with a review date. I mean, is there like December 31st or like next week or what? Stephen, you got your finger up. What are you thinking?
Yeah. So I would like to address just a couple comments because they may actually inform the date. But first, I wanted to express to Mickey that I do understand that we as communities are connected, but at the same time, we have a mountain pass and we have a mountain system that largely filters out the influx and outflux of people. While there is a lot of movement of people here, part of the reason why we are not as affected as people in Bellevue is because geography restricts the travel some and allows us to be able to live in a little bit better situation concerning this. Not that the whole situation is over, and not that it warrants flagrant disregard of the situation at all, but we are somewhat disconnected by that geography. And so again, this specific declaration does not address the emergency state in our state. That is the purview of the governor, whether we believe he's doing a good job at that or not. And then over the county is able to address systemically how things work over the county, whether we think they are doing a good job or not. The question specifically is, are city assets in an emergency situation? Is the hospital district within our city limits? There's a very narrow scope to this emergency declaration, and we are no longer under the state. We're no longer under the intensity, or I believe even the reality of the reasons that we declared it. And so I believe that we need to cancel it. That either by a movement of this, I would propose a movement of this council to direct the mayor to cancel it, or the city manager, as it was written in there, which would the equivalent position, I believe, would be the city administrator, to undeclare the emergency or to cancel it, and then at whatever point we decide that our resources are actually in jeopardy, or that the lives and health are in emergency jeopardy, we can immediately convene, and at that point respond to it. And again, the concern is not about the mayor creating our current mayor. Again, no problem that he's going to create a situation that's going to impede the personal liberties of people. But we can never guarantee who tomorrow's mayor or a week from today's mayor is going to be, and what other circumstances might come. And so all we can do is dictate policy. Right now, policy is in a precarious situation that I think needs to be amended.
So I have a suggestion. Because there's a lot of talk about whether we're in an emergency or not. I did hear that Dr. Larson does address the Ellensburg Council. You know, their situation, of course, a little different. They have the call and that sort of stuff. And how about we have him address the council about just exactly where we're at? Stephen, you're saying, you know, the past. I think they might have a different kind of take on that, because actually this summer we had a lot of people here, but I don't want to debate that one way or another. But how about if we hear from Dr. Larson?
Quick question, what is his specific relationship to the city?
Because he's our health official.
Okay, he's our health official. So
that's what his relationship is. That's who guides all of our health actions. And I'd like to hear from him what he thinks about, you know, if this is necessary or not. Because that's the direction we take. Whenever someone comes or we decide we have to do it, we check with Dr. Larson, with the health department about, you know, is this, you know, safe to do or not? And so we do follow his guidance. And I would propose that we hear from him at the next council meeting and see what his take on our medical situation is. You know, Mickey says
has there not been a new appointment? Has there not been a new appointment at the county level, or is he still the county health officer?
Well, okay. The last I heard was Friday, and it was a report from a meeting I go to that Larson addressed the Ellensburg City Council. So,
okay.
So maybe we should have him address it, find out where we're at in, you know, quote unquote, health emergency, and then we can base our decision on that.
I like the mayor's suggestion. I support it.
I mean, is there a general agreement or disagreement? What do you think?
Yeah, I would stand in opposition, saying that even if he says that we're in it, we also have to take reasonable common sense judgment of what we see, and we don't see our clinic overrun. We don't see our hospital system in general overrun. I think if we were in that dire emergency, we would have more dialogue from the county health department with the city at large. And so I see nothing impeding us from taking these actions. And I would suggest that this council move forward with rescinding the declaration. And I would motion to that effect. Seek a second.
Mayor, I have a question. Maybe you can help me answer. I missed last week's meeting, or the last meeting. If we were to get rid of the emergency declaration resolution,
actually, I'll rise to a point of order.
Rusty, hang on. There's been a motion. So, what if we're going to have a discussion on it? We have to have a second first, and then we can discuss it, and then we can make a vote on it. Okay, Rustin? So hang on a minute.
I'll second so we can have a discussion.
Okay, but it's moved and seconded to discuss whether or not we're going to rescind the emergency declaration. So Rustin, you had a question. You missed the last meeting.
Yeah, sorry, Stephen. I didn't mean to step on your toes there. My question is, if we rescind the order, does that impact any future CARES grants, or
yes,
or does it impact any other funding that businesses or citizens may get if we decide that we get rid of this emergency declare act now.
Oh, that really is a good point, and I forgot to mention that. It's not entirely clear, and I think we should really find that out first. How this could affect our ability to get funds for the recovery effort. And
the only reason I bring this up is because it seems that you know, we on the CARES Act, and I think Matthew will probably update it. We are busy working to get businesses $4,000, $5,000 to help them from this emergency, but now we're having a council try to potentially say there isn't really an emergency. You know, whether you believe the science or you believe it's not political per se, as I believe that we are protecting our town and we are protecting the citizens and our businesses. I don't think it's fair for us to decide they don't get this money anymore because we don't feel it's an emergency. Regardless of where we are located on the map, I don't think it's fair to say, nope, no more emergency, when Bill, the ice cream parlor, could be struggling profusely because sales are down, because we're not getting people from the other side of the mountains. The emergency there is still heavy there, and they're no longer traveling the way they used to. And I think the CARES Act has seen numbers from businesses sliding. And so I would just open up some of the thought to not just our personal beliefs, but for the town. Are we protecting businesses in the town by saying no more emergency act because the mayor's going to go crazy and make us all wear masks?
Yes, all right, that's a good point, and really is. I have not researched that, you know, and yes, you should be worried about me going crazy. You're absolutely right. No, I'm being a little bit, Stephen, you know. And you know what, I forgot, you know, I was going to recognize Beth, and she had to leave. It looks like she had to leave the meeting, and I really kind of made a mistake there, you guys. I wanted to tell you about that because she's no longer here with us, that I can tell. Rustin, that's a good point. Did other members of council wish to comment on the motion before us? John Galando, and then Ken, okay?
I'd just like to say that I'm kind of on the fence with this. I hear what Stephen's saying. I hear what Rustin's saying. And I think to make this decision shouldn't be just a snap decision. I think if we're going to go and vote on what Stephen proposed, I'm probably going to vote against it because of that. I think it deserves a little bit more study and investigation, and not a knee-jerk reaction.
Ken, you have a comment?
John kind of said it for me. I would like to be over with all this stuff, and I think there is debate as to how effective it all is, but we just brought it up at this first meeting. I would welcome us keeping it on the agenda henceforth, but I don't think I would like to hear from the health officer and get a more rounded perspective before I actually vote to get rid of the declaration.
Matthew, go ahead. Matthew, Stephen, let Matthew speak, okay?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I would like to hear, I mean, I'm glad to hear from Dr. Larson. I would also like to hear from, whether it's Alex or whoever can give us sort of a good comprehensive rundown of sort of the pros and cons of it so that we can make an informed decision. I tend to agree. I don't think we should just end it because we think it's the right thing to do. I think we should get informed, but I would like to get informed, and I'm hoping perhaps at the next meeting we can have Dr. Larson and Alex or whoever else can speak to that, come and talk to us, and have this be a permanent unfinished business item on our agenda every meeting until we decide not to, or it, so I think it should be something that we have kind of as a permanent agenda item so that it stays top of mind, because it's an emergency, so it should be top of mind for us.
Well, those are good comments. I'm sorry we missed Beth. She did have, maybe she was telling us she had to go to work. I'm not sure. Anyone else? So Stephen, you were going to add.
Just respond. Yeah, I just want to respond very quickly to the comments. Number one, concerning the businesses and the CARES grant, et cetera. I understand that's a concern, but I believe it's unfounded because there's been no certification required heretofore for us to receive the CARES Act money. Now there might be a subsequent CARES Act 2.0 or whatever, we'll see at some point. But at present, there's been no need for certification that we're in a state of emergency in order to receive those funds, either from the state or from the feds. We've received them. They came. They're doled out. They don't seem to have much. We don't have much say in whether they come or not come to the city. And then as far as concerning Dr. Larson, my personal conversations, which I've reiterated to the council, I believe that he's allowed his political views to cloud at least a little bit his judgment. I'm not saying that the recommendations that he's given are not good, and I'm not saying that we don't need to continue to have precautions, but to make him the Bible on that point of decision, whether we're in an emergency state or not, I'd rather like to hear from somebody else within the hospital district, within Kittitas Valley Medicine, that we haven't had an interaction, or that we can maybe consider a more fair source. I imagine they'll probably trumpet the same talking points as the good Dr. Larson, but he has muddied his reputation in my judgment because of his past actions concerning statements and concerning different gatherings and their proximity, and which ones he thinks are dangerous and which ones are not. They show clear political bias, and I'll openly trumpet that. And if anybody needs more enumeration on that, I can certainly give it. But I don't want, he's a good doctor. I just think that there's a little tinge of bias there that would cause him to possibly not give us a completely objective assessment of our city's situation.
Okay. Any other questions on the motion? Matthew?
I was going to say, perhaps to address Councilmember Harper's concern, we could invite Tristan Lamb, the director of the Public Health Department, instead of Dr. Larson. She also happens to be an Ellensburg City Council member, so she also gets it from the city perspective. She might be a really good person to invite instead, if there's concern there.
Sure, well,
I'd welcome that.
We can do to get some informed decision and some more. Like our attorney said, none of the other cities are doing this yet, so I don't need to reiterate. Any other?
I would just say I stand in support of my motion, and I would ask that you call the question.
Okay, there's a call to question. I guess we talked about enough. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Aye.
Opposed. I'm opposed.
Okay, Stephen.
I might be for it next time.
Okay, Stephen.
We're still friends. It's okay.
No, good discussion. Good discussion. All right. So we'll move down to update on council policy procedure.
Mr. Mayor, can you commit to have it on the agenda for the next meeting?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
Clear. It will go on the agenda for the next meeting. All right.
Thank you.
Let's see. We lost somebody. I see. Well, when their faces disappear, I think I lost somebody. So now, on the update on council policies and procedures. What we're going to do is we're going to resurrect the plan that we had with Gary Burnt to work with the committee, and he'll be talking to them tomorrow, and then we will have and they will discuss He has an agenda of many different items, and one of the first ones, of course, is going to be how we set the agenda. Okay, and that'll be one of the first ones we do. But I want to stick with his plan. We were ready to get going on this, and we had the restrictions on people gathering, and it fell by the wayside. I apologize for that. And I said last meeting I should have followed through this more. And then the committee will appoint a spokesperson who will keep the council up to date at each meeting, and then they'll inform us when we'll have a study session on whatever it is that the whole council needs to decide on. And along that lines, what we're going to be working on is, I have trouble with this word, you know, where you have a, what is that kind of meeting? Matthew, you could tell me where you do, some people are there and some people aren't there. What is that
Hybrid.
called? Huh?
Hybrid.
Hybrid. Okay. We're going to see what we can do about having hybrid meetings at the senior center. So it'll be a combination. There's enough room and ventilation there for people to be apart. We can have these conversations. And then as part of our developing our policies and procedures. And we'll follow through this. And that's what the plan right now is. Stephen, go ahead.
Oh, somewhat related. Is I was wondering, is there a possibility that I could be removed from the committee? I just, time restraints and commitments in the next several months, I don't see myself being able to give it the proper attention with budgeting, the budget committee, and with the lodging tax and other things that I'm involved with. I was wondering if is it possible to appoint another council person for that actual committee itself.
Yeah.
Not the grander scale. I certainly want to be part of the bigger process, as you know, as much as it happens.
Yes. Okay. Well, all right. Decisions.
Something I'm passionate about, but right now, I got a lot of things going on.
Yeah, business stuff. Well,
I would like to volunteer as tribute.
I was going to try to make you sweat it out a little bit, Matthew. All right. We'll put Matthew on in your stead, but I'll have to give you. I'll have to give.
You have
Gary
to give me a hard time.
Contact information. Okay, so right now that's kind of where we're at. Is there any other questions on that update? And I really am looking forward to trying to do that kind of meeting where we can have more people, you know, in some proximity. We will still be videotaping. We'll still have a screen up with people commenting and that sort of stuff. And I'll be working on that, okay? No promises there. But we will have the policy procedures update on the agenda for report every meeting.
I just want to echo, I'm really excited about the idea of being able to have some more of us in person for these meetings. I think it like the mayor said, it's helpful. It's just these are hard, not being able to be in proximity. You just a lot of nonverbal communication that goes on that it's hard to read a room a little bit. So Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to help with any of the technological parts of it to make sure we can get that done, because I think it will definitely improve our meetings.
Okay, all right. So now, any more discussion on that? Hearing none. Okay, let's update now. So we've also added a C, and Matthew, you asked that you wanted to have a continued discussion on your meat inspector ordinance.
Yeah, I had a nice discussion with the mayor today, and I appreciate his willingness to have a dialogue about that. I was last meeting. I appreciate everyone indulging me to start down that process. I think you know, we're elected as legislators, and I think our ability to bring legislation is important. And so You know, I don't want it to be known that I'm obsessed with the meat inspector that we haven't had since the 30s, but it does, it is a example of places where we can do better to clean up our code. A cleaner code means smaller government, which is something I'm very much in favor of. And so I expected it to be on the agenda this meeting, because that's what we had talked about twice last meeting, that it was going to make it on this agenda. It did not. Sounds like it was a miscommunication on the mayor and my part. So I guess what I'm hoping is that it is something that we can refer to a committee to have a conversation, discussion, because I believe we should move down this road. It's something that I'm passionate about, and I'm hoping that we can find an appropriate place for it, and have whatever discussion the council wishes before we take any action on it.
Stephen, go ahead.
So in the biblical narrative, there's a story about a dead man who was placed out in a field, and as people began to proceed by, they would slow down and they would stare at the dead body. So a very wise man took a sheet and placed it over the body so that people could pass on and continue to progress. And in the spirit of that, I would recommend, again, bring before this council what we have named as ordinance, I believe 1558, rescinding the nonsense that's been on the code for quite a while. I believe that this is, and I would seek a second, I believe this is placing a sheet over a dead body and allowing us to progress.
I'm in a second so we can have discussion for a second.
Well, okay, yes. I really have to say, at the last meeting, I thought for sure we put this to test, but obviously there was some miscommunication. So here we go. All right.
So once before and once after we had the vote, you said, let's put it on the agenda through our regular process. I spoke with Kathy afterwards. It didn't get put on. I don't want to vote on it today because we have not had a chance to look at it. It's not gone through the regular, well, it has not gone through the process that has been verbally prescribed to me. So what I'm hoping is that whatever process the council would like to do, whether it go to a committee or it does end up on the agenda so the public can see it, the council can see it, and we can make a decision is what I'm hoping we can have.
I'll wait to make it. Ken, go ahead and make your comments.
Hey, it's no emergency to repeal our meat inspector ordinance. We've been doing fine with that ordinance in place, and you know it's no big deal. We don't need to be doing this.
Is that we don't need to? Yeah.
We don't need to repeal it.
Yeah. Okay. Other comments, John Galando?
You know, I don't have any problem with the idea of repealing that particular ordinance. I wonder if at this time there are other portions of the city code that need to be looked at. And I don't have any problem with considering repealing other ordinances as they come by. I guess the concern that I have is that talking about this multiple times and voting on it multiple times, you know, it's kind of like, if I'm trying to say this without being like calling somebody's names or saying something about you, but if you don't get what you want, you keep bringing it back to the council and trying to vote on it. And I think that with a little bit of I don't know, a committee looking into it and bringing back, I don't think there's any new information tonight than there was at the last meeting. So I'm not in favor of repealing the ordinance at this time. It may happen in the future that I would be okay with it, but I think that just bringing it up for a vote and making everybody say yay or nay isn't going to fix the bigger problem. So I think we need to take that into consideration as well.
Well, and I would just, oh, sorry, go ahead, Stephen.
Can I speak to that? Certainly, it's not going to solve the bigger problem, but it's going to solve the immediate problem. And that's that we have an ordinance. It was brought to our attention publicly that it's an invalid ordinance. We have carefully worded script in order to negate the ordinance and put it to rest. And now we're going to refer it to a committee to talk about something that we all have said in concept. We agree with this, but basically out of spite, we're going to continue to have an invalid ordinance until we have a policy and a procedure to bring other ones of these. I don't think anybody has any intention, and I believe we've all stated it publicly, that we're not going to start doing major code review just because this isn't just because this one goes through. So this isn't what's going to open up the floodgate and allow tons and tons more of revisions. But the fact that it has been publicly brought to our attention that we have an invalid ordinance on the books, and we've been given, again, eloquently worded language to be able to remove it. And I would argue that this is more about spite about the process than it is about efficiently dealing with the matter at hand. And that's that we have a code. It is not a valid code. We have very simple language to clean it up. And again, I'll make it clear, ordinance 1588 does that, and I stand in support of the motion.
And I appreciate both Councilmember Rondo and so here's what I'm getting at is I've been trying to figure out the process here, and my understanding from what Councilmember Ratliff said last week, I went back and listened, and I appreciated your comments. I believe that we need a process, and the process, as I understand it, and was spelled out pretty clearly by the mayor last meeting, was it goes through a regular process. It goes to Kathy, so ahead of time, so it's on the agenda, so the council and the public can look at it. So I spoke with Kathy, well, via email right after the meeting. She said she would find it. It would be on the agenda. The agenda came out and it wasn't there. So this is, I guess, a bigger issue where if a council member brings something that they'd like to be on the agenda, it doesn't end up on the agenda unless administration wants it to be on there. And then if it gets brought up during the meeting, well, then it hasn't been noticed. And so it's more of a process thing for me that I think, we're here to legislate. These are our meetings, and we should be able to get stuff on the agenda that allows it to have time for the council members and for the public to be able to see the information, and then we can either take action on it or say we need more discussion and figure out how to make more discussion. So I don't necessarily want us to vote on this tonight because you still haven't seen it and had it in your agenda packet. My bigger concern is that getting things in the agenda packet seems to be difficult, and that's my concern. So that's my concern.
Well,
right, so wait a minute.
I'd like to say something. Personally, I think we ought to just vote on it up or down right now. And the main reason I am saying doing this, we have spent way too much time on something that people are just trying to argue their point. If we vote it away, it's done. So I make the favor we vote yay or nay. Yay, that we remove it, and nay, we leave it in there. And I'm looking for a second.
I second the motion.
Sorry, we have a motion on the table. So you're simply calling the question, Mickey?
Yeah, there's already a motion.
You didn't. You didn't.
Mickey, hang on. He did make a motion on it, and what you should be saying is you're calling for questions, and you're calling for a vote on this issue right now. That's okay. Yes. Okay. There's a lot of things I could say about this, and I'm not going to add one word about what's been said because I have a completely different point. But Ken, go ahead, and then we're going to call for a vote.
Yeah. This is a public health standard ordinance. Granted, it's old and perhaps not needed, but I haven't seen a full explanation of what has changed and why it's not needed. And like I said before, it's no emergency. We don't need to take action on this. It's not a dead body. There's nothing, I mean, it's just there.
Okay. I think everybody's had enough chance to say their piece. I appreciate that. I will call for a vote. All those in favor with aye.
Well, hold on. Could you repeat the motion, please?
Oh boy, there you go. That's a good question. I should repeat it. You know what?
While you're looking it up, I guess I would say I'm now objecting to us voting on this right now because, and I know this is, but my whole point is that I don't want us to vote on something that you haven't seen, and all I'm looking for is for it to be seen and go through.
You gave it to us months ago. You gave it to us months ago.
Well, it's never been disseminated. That's my issue. Is that it's never been disseminated out to you.
Okay.
The
There's
resolution
a motion on the table. There's a motion on the table. I mean, it's the conversation's going all over the place. The point is, what I've been trying to get across is that we are starting a process that clearly defines how we put things on the agenda, what comes up for discussion. And Matthew, you're on that now. We're going to be working on that. You know, you're new to this and you're trying to figure out how it works. I understand. Right now, we're going to vote this thing up or down. So I'm calling for a vote. All those in favor with aye.
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 Hang on a minute. Now, this is in favor, right, of what?
Of ordinance number 1588. Repealing the
2.12.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, all right, and those opposed?
Opposed.
Aye.
Okay. The ordinance, and we'll have to write it up properly, to remove it has passed, and the ordinance number would actually be a 1588, just for the record. Okay, and we'll get something properly brought up. All right, moving on. Let's see.
So, Mr. Mayor, the motion passed then?
The motion passed to rescind the ordinance, and I believe it was Stephen, Mickey, Rustin, and Matthew that voted aye to rescind. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's over with.
Okay. All right.
Hey, can I add something? Excuse me, this is Kathy.
Yes.
The correct ordinance number is not 1588, it's 1593.
Oh, there you go.
I would concur.
Okay. All right. We'll fix that. So now we're under, well, let's see. It seems like we've already voted on, we had the public hearing and we voted on the permit fee.
Discussion on the fireworks.
And so now under B, we have a new proposal from Matthew Lund.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have heard, and I know, I believe Councilmember Guando got a message from someone as well about looking at our fireworks code and potentially change, I guess, reverting to some extent from what was, I believe in 2014, the council essentially repealed, I think, fairly wholesale our fireworks code and then replaced it with something else. Essentially, I think the gist of it was we don't allow sales in the community. We don't allow private parties to set off fireworks in the city, and then only public fireworks displays that are permitted are allowed. And we know in practice that's not really what happens. And I think we're also very aware that a lot of the reason for that, I believe, was having to do with fire safety and things like that, especially surrounding the 4th of July. And so what I wanted to start the discussion on is looking at potentially modifying it so that there can be sales of some form in the city. I believe the Kiwanis used to sell them here, and we would only allow it essentially on New Year's Eve would be the one time that people can legally discharge fireworks in the city. And obviously we can talk about different types and things like that and times, but we know what happens in practice. It puts a lot of strain on our police on New Year's Eve as they're going around on those calls. And so just having a discussion, and hopefully perhaps the Public Safety Committee or somebody else could take a look at this, or we can form a new one. Happy to do that, but to look at the fireworks code again in advance of New Year's Eve and talk about if that is something that we feel like makes sense.
Okay, so in other words, he wants to, we want to look at that. He wants to look at it. It'd be a good benefit. But who is, I have to ask, who is on the Public Safety Committee? Is there anyone? Or who would like to be on this committee? Really, more or less, it's going to be a discussion you have that you bring back to the council at the next meeting on how you would like this ordinance addressed. Stephen, are you having interest in it?
I could do a short term if it's not going to be months. Yeah, if it's just going to be a sit down and talk for as long as we need to about it. One other thing I'll just bring around briefly that definitely needs to be referred to the committee, whoever it is part of the ordinance prohibits even the possession of fireworks. So even if you're driving through Elum with fireworks in your trunk from a place that it's legal to a place that it's legal, that's outlawed technically within the code. Also, I'll remind for historical value that our fire chief never saw a problem with when we were originally considering the ordinance, making a provision for New Year's Eve fireworks. It was an overzealous council, I believe, at the time, we're no longer composed of that council at present. And so I would.
Well, I'm still here.
Definitely. The whole.
I'm still here.
I'm still here too.
Like that.
About that. But it occurs to me that you guys should, whoever's on the committee, okay, Stephen and Matthew, but we should include the fire chief and the police chief, confer with them, right? And then is there anyone else who would like to join those two in the discussions? There's Stephen, so far Matthew.
I'll join them.
Okay, and Rustin, I would do. So I'm going to leave it up to you, Matthew, to coordinate with those 5 people.
The fireworks committee, here we go.
Okay, and bring back, but it also is the fire chief, right?
Yes, police chief and fire chief. Yep, absolutely.
So, and bring us back at the next meeting, a recommendation on a change to the ordinance, and then we'll proceed from that, okay?
Excellent.
All right. Okay, let's see, wait a minute, I almost threw I took my agenda in the done pile, but obviously we're not done. So how about committee reports?
I have one for the CARES committee, and I was actually trying to pull up our CARES Act page that we have, and the city firewall blocks it. So hang on a second. Let me go off my.
Okay, while you're doing that, are there any other?
I've got it up.
You got it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the city received an additional $28,000 in CARES Act funds from the Department of Commerce. The governor issued an order to release some of the state's money that was then apportioned out to cities and counties again. And so with that, the committee met and we reopened our process for doing the grants like we did back in June and July. And so it's a little less money this year, or this round. So we are looking at $2,500 max grants this time. The application is almost identical. The only difference is we did lower the threshold for time which was a year, and now it's 6 months. So essentially, if you've been in business in the city 6 months or longer, you're eligible for it. We do know there are some businesses who have opened in the middle of the pandemic, and we appreciate their entrepreneurship and believe that they should be able to access these funds, because we know we're heading into the winter and it's a more difficult season, and this is not going to help. So cleolumcares.org is the website where you can get the application, or you can get a printed application from the Downtown Association. And they are due by 5 p.m. on the 15th. So coming up here soon. Get those in, and then we're hoping that the committee will be able to go through the grading process and all of that, and actually bring back our recommendations for the next round at the next meeting, so we can get this money out to our businesses who need it quickly.
Okay. And do you need any action from the council?
I do not believe so. We looked at the original resolution, and it allowed us to do this. So we just went forward.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for that.
Yep.
See what you can do to help them.
For sure.
All right. Any other committee reports? Ken's sitting back, arms are folded. I think he's ready to go. John Galando, you have a comment?
I just have a question. I just want to make sure that Stephen and Matthew, you got the email from Taylor that said to postpone your
grading.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that was.
Yes. One other thing, Mr. Mayor, on the park side of things, we've received several more inquiries about the Trailhead Park, and I was just curious if you had an update on the Trailhead Park.
I'm putting every spare bit of energy I got into that park, and we're making progress.
Okay.
All the concourses are built, and it's still going to continue, even though we had a bit of a deluge.
Sure.
It's still ongoing.
Do we think we will see activity before the snow at the site?
Well, you might even see activity during the snow.
Well, even better. Okay, and then the only other thing is, just in case anyone hasn't driven by City Park recently, the gazebo is looking wonderful. Though the entire, I'm not a construction guy, but the entire subroof, I believe, is on, and they actually have put the actual roof on most of it last time I saw it. So they're proceeding quickly, and it's looking really good. So I encourage everybody to drive by and take a look, because this project is amazing, and I can't thank the Kiwanis and you know, all of them for all the work they put into it, because it really is incredible.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I don't know. You guys don't have to second that. Or
Sounds so fun.
Want to?
Go in.
Meeting
No?
is adjourned. Meeting is adjourned.
Hi, everybody.
Night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
I'm going to mourn our meat inspector this evening.